I just dove in headlong. I took a gamble, but I think it was an educated gamble. I decided very early on that I was going to go overseas. I had a plan in mind. I made the contact ahead of time, and I went to West Africa. And in doing so, you sort of create your own luck, I think. And just by the fact that I was there, I had some opportunities that would have never materialized had I not taken the chance. And then, of course, with a little momentum, it starts to build, and new opportunities come, and you don't have to fight so hard for the work. And now, it's despite the difficult media climate that we're living in, there's so much in flux. But I feel because I've been working in multimedia that I've been able to get a steady workflow, and it's keeping me busy. Part of it is just where you get a sense you can generate consistent work. A lot of it also is just desire. What happens to interest me at a given time, and I'm always attracted to new destinations. If I haven't been, I want to go. But then, of course, there are also certain places that just draw you back, and it's hard to resist. Afghanistan is one of those places that I'm sure I'll be there, working there for some time ahead. You've really got to hustle. Some of the work, again, is contract-based. You'll get an assignment for a month or a week or what have you, or even on a story-by-story basis. Otherwise, you just really got to sort of believe in what you're doing, and you may well pay your way to go cover a story, but assured that you can find enough work to keep yourself going. And of course, the more sort of platforms that you can work in, the better. So if you're not able to sell enough print work or generate interest there, that you can be taking pictures, you can be doing video, perhaps even radio. So you really do need to be diversified right now to make it and continue to work as a freelancer. I think a huge role, because you're seeing a major contraction as far as foreign bureaus, foreign staff correspondents. Fewer and fewer around. A lot of bureaus have completely shut down, and those who still do have jobs are very much tethered to capitals, to their bureaus, where they have to really monitor the news and do work that would have been done by many people. It's now the job of one person oftentimes. So that does present an opportunity for independent journalists who have a little more time and mobility, who can wander further off the map, get beneath the skin of the story, spend time on a story. And I think time is a very important ingredient for reporting, to provide context, to provide depth, to really get to know the people who are affected in an area. And that does take time. It's not something that you can really rush. So I think that there can be a real synergy there, and that freelancers in all media formats can really fill in gaps and supplement the work that is done by more traditional staff correspondents. I would say prepare yourself well ahead of time. To really make it out in the field, you have to lay the groundwork ahead of time, whether it's getting the right kind of training, again, to be able to be a convergent journalist, to work in multimedia, making the contacts among Western media outlets in the United States and Europe and elsewhere. There's a lot of new online possibilities, and picking the right destination, the right region to work in, where you're going to find steady work, where you can move around pretty easily, or maybe your living expenses aren't exorbitant, so you can give yourself time in case things are a little slow, times are lean. Yeah, just preparing thoroughly ahead of time to keep the odds in your favor once you go out in the field. Yeah, there are safety issues working in a conflict zone. You have to be very aware of your surroundings. Things change very quickly. It's important to stay plugged in with locals, or if you haven't been to a place, asking ahead of time, what's the situation on the ground. So you really do reach out You depend on others as an independent. You don't have the sort of resources at your disposal as a lot of big media outlets might have. Language is another issue. It can be a great asset when you're working. It gives you more immediacy, it helps you build rapport with subjects, connects you to the environment. But more often than not, you don't speak the local language. At least I don't. And that's where you do depend on locals to help translate, facilitate, and connect you. And certainly something is lost there, but you know, you have to get the work done, and so you find a way. But all in all, I mean, these sorts of obstacles can be dealt with. Again, where there is a will, there's a way. And to even get into this kind of work, you really do have to be, I think, pretty persistent and resourceful and creative in how you deal with problems. Well, certainly being in a war zone, working in Afghanistan, there are times when you'll have an encounter and you'll be in a firefight. And in those situations, you're really dependent on the soldiers who are around you. I mean, I've been embedded several times. There are upsides and downsides to that, but given the nature of the conflict now and the logistics in Afghanistan, there are just certain parts of the country you can't reach, so you have to be with the military. But they generally do take really good care of you and look out for you as one of their own, and that's reassuring. But there have been difficult times elsewhere. I mean, even in India recently, I was working on this Maoist story, and we had to go through some local militia that support them. And I was with a couple of Indian journalists, and the militia were very skeptical of who we were. They thought we were government spies, and they didn't buy our credentials or that we were journalists. And at one point, it looked like they were going to perhaps kill us. But the situation in the end was diffused, and we were able to tell the story. There are always risks anytime you go out in the field, but I don't think you can be paralyzed by those risks. You need to educate yourself, reach out to others. There's nothing to lose there. And also really calculating when you're going to pursue a story and you know it's going to entail a degree of risk, you want to make a very sober assessment of what it is you're going to be undertaking, and even in the best case scenario, what the end result is going to be. Even if that story does come out, what kind of impact can it really have? Isn't it better to tell several stories and be around to to keep up the work? So you want to be very very sober about that. The freedom, the time, not having a boss breathing down my neck, being able to choose when and where I want to go, for the most part, and yet having the credential, having the access, being able to talk to people of all stripes and tell stories. And I think also being freelance, having been able to develop other kinds of reporting skills, not being sort of a one-trick pony, just writing stories as older generations, but being able to really pursue photography in depth and take the time to do that, to start to work on more video projects and kind of become a jack of all trades. And I've really enjoyed all that, because I never wanted to do work in a one-dimensional way. I wanted to sort of bring everything together, and I think being a freelance journalist has allowed me to do that.